Here in Canada, every woman is having about 1.4 children, which is low. In fact, it's 30% lower than it was just 15 years ago. And I think I can actually share with you an exercise that gets us to experience how birth rates have started to decline. So I want you to think about this for a second. I want you to think of your mother or your father, or your grandparents on either side of your family, okay? And I want you to think about each of these 6 people, and I want you to think about which one had the most siblings, okay? And I want you to raise your hand if your parents or your grandparents on either side had 3 or more siblings. I can't see, I'm gonna come down here. Okay, keep those hands up. 4, 5, 23? Who's clapping? What are we clapping for? My gosh, 23. Okay, so that begs the next question. Does anyone have 23 kids? No, I didn't think so. We're reproducing less than we ever have before. Here's another quick question for you. Does anyone want to guess why the number one reason why millennials and Gen Zs are reproducing less than they ever have before? Go ahead. Climate change is the number one reason. Turns out that 33% of millennials and Gen Zs don't want to reproduce because, indeed, of climate change. Another thing that's happening is, wait a second. What, did I just sneak that in there? Let's back it up. I'd say the only chance really at a sustainable population growth is probably this guy, right? Retirement. People are retiring now faster than we've ever seen before. Take a look at these numbers. Yes, they're US figures, but we could take about a 1-to-10 ratio and see what's happening here in Canada too, right? If you look at 2010, 2020, about 10,000 people in the United States were turning 65 every single day. And so if we think that a lot of people are leaving the workforce right now, just give it 5 years. Some of you might say, well, the 75 is the new 65, to which I say, okay, well then give it 10 years. More people are leaving the workforce, less people are entering the workforce, and immigration, especially over the past couple of years, has been nearly at a standstill. We need these people more than ever before, especially with our economic growth. Then we heard it here, technology is changing the world of work too. We're seeing business applications, new business applications at rates that simply didn't exist in the past. And a lot of us think that this is that next generation, the millennials, the kids, those digital natives. The truth is, it's all of us. I'll give you a quick story. At the start of the pandemic, a single mother who was a bookkeeper was unfortunately laid off from her job. Too much uncertainty, not enough work. She was laid off from her job. She went home to her 10 and her 12-year-old, just with her head in her hands, wondering how in the world was she going to care for her kids. Her 12-year-old said, Mom, why don't you do the same work that you've been doing, but why don't you put your job posting online? Who knows what's going to happen? So sure enough, she did. She said, I'll take care of your bookkeeping every month and everything else that you need for $400 a month. 30 days later, she had 28 new clients. She made a hire, she tripled her salary, and she never had to leave her kids again. New business applications are happening at rates that we've never seen before, all fueled by technology, which we heard in the front row here. The World Economic Forum says that we're entering the 4th industrial revolution, one where we're not moving steps forward anymore, we're moving exponential leaps. So I want you to think of the first industrial revolution. Think of the steam engine, 18th century. The second industrial revolution, think of the assembly line. The third industrial revolution, the technology that got us to the moon, early computing. Think of our cell phones, which, by the way, have about 10 times the processing power that the rockets did that took us to the moon in '69. And then, of course, we're entering the 4th industrial revolution, where we're not moving steps forward anymore. We're moving exponential leaps. Now, I think a lot of us intuitively know that. We hear this all the time. Artificial intelligence, machine learning, robotics, computing, all these big words that say the world's moving faster and faster and faster. Now, look, I'm not that much of an academic, but there is a theory that I thought I'd share with you that helps us put all of this into a box that we can start to see and understand a little bit further. Coined by a gentleman by the name of Buckminster Fuller in 1958, who was actually responsible for the Agrodome in Montreal too, which I thought was just a nice little detail. He was studying the speed of information, communication, and technology, and how much the world around us knew as a result of that information. What he found was that before the year 1900, the amount of information that we had access to doubled every 100 years. So from 1700 to 1800, the amount of information that we had access to, well, it doubled. And from 1800 to 1900, it doubled again. Now, that didn't mean you and I were twice as smart. It meant the world around us had twice as much information every 100 years. But what he noticed was that after the year 1900, the amount of information that we had access to started to double at a halved rate. So now it didn't take 100 years to double, it took 50. And then it took halved rate again, so 25, and then 12 and a half, and then 6. So from 1900 to 1950, the amount of information that we had access to had doubled. And then from 50 to 75, it doubled again, to 88, it doubled again, to 93, it doubled again, until all the way back in 2020, IBM confirmed that because of the internet and the build out of the Internet of Things, this will lead to the doubling of knowledge every 12 hours.